I mean, it doesn't really matter. Whatever the schedule says, you play. It is. It's not ideal that we have two back-to-backs basically in the first week. 5 games in 8 days is a lot, particularly at the top of the season when the guys who play big minutes are still ramping up to get to that level. So it's not an easy schedule, but the schedule isn't easy for anybody. So there's no complaints. It's just how do you handle them. You saw the way we handled it in Portland. Nobody played more than about 25 minutes. We didn't play very well, but we didn't overtax anybody either. So I think we should be literally in better shape going into this back-to-back because we had yesterday off, today a good practice, and we're a week in. We're 3 games in, so guys should have better rhythm. Al won't play tomorrow, and he will play against the Clippers. And other than that, yeah, we'll lean into our depth and keep playing people, in combinations that we believe in, and hopefully use our depth to get through this next back-to-back.
How much of that decision with Al is based on the matchups, Memphis versus Clippers?
Yeah, I mean, we always take that into consideration. So, against Portland, that was a pretty easy choice, dealing with Jokic, I would say this one is a much more difficult decision because Memphis, Jaren Jackson's obviously a great player, but we opted to play him against the Clippers. Zubats has given us trouble. It's a really big team. So that's the way we'll go in this one.
And on those back-to-back games, when you are playing your regulars, but you might not want to overtax them, what is kind of like the score range you're looking at to be like, hey, like, let's shut it down, let's take it easy, versus let's put the pedal to the metal and try to go for a win?
It's really a feel thing. We go into those games mapping out minutes, and you try to stay with it. I think we had Steph mapped out at 28 against Portland. We went into it knowing we were going to try to buy him 2 extra minutes per half. But that's always just a plan, and you throw that out the window depending on how the game's going. And if that had been a tight game, we would have gone back to Steph, played Jimmy more, et cetera. But it's a combination of the score, but also the circumstances. 3 games in 3 cities in 4 nights. And then you feel the way that game was going from the late second quarter on. We weren't going to chase that one.
Just what do you take away from the first week overall? Like you mentioned, 3 games in 3 cities in 4 days, going 2-1. You feel like it was a good week?
It's a great week. We always we break the season into segments, weekly segments, and we talk every week about let's win the week. It's a little bit like baseball. Let's win the series. If you win the series over and over again in baseball, you're going to win 90 or 100 games. If you win the week more often than not in the NBA, you're going to win 50 plus, and that's kind of the goal. So given the circumstances, great week. I also liked that we were really exposed against Portland in some ways that I needed to be better as a coach and prepare our players better. And so that was a very instructive game for us as a staff. And so we were able to see some of the areas where we really need more work.
What are some of those areas?
Well, playing against switching, for sure. Portland switched everything 1 through 5 when they went to their small lineups, and their pressure bothered us. We didn't have good spacing. And so this is part of what, the early season entails is because you can't get everything in a 3-week training camp, but you get to see where your weaknesses are early on, and you can then really apply them or work on them and apply that adjustment.
Hey, Steve. Based on what Joseph was asking earlier about the back-to-backs, is it kind of different, though, when you're playing an 8 p.m. game here on the West Coast versus maybe on the East, as you sometimes do?
Is the back-to-back
Yeah,
different?
and then playing the back-to-back, the second game at 8 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, that's an adjustment this year, with the new TV schedule. We are going to have some 8 p.m. starts. I don't know that it's really a big adjustment. You do get the extra hour of rest if it's the second game. You get an hour less rest if it's the first game. So, these are not really things that we can do anything about. So we just go out and play.
Moses Moody came back last game, played about 20 minutes. Do you expect him to play both games of the back-to-back, or?
I haven't talked to Rick about it yet, but I did talk to Moses today. He said he came out of that game feeling good. He just didn't have his rhythm or his conditioning yet. So I'll talk to Rick today.
Steve, did everybody else do everything today?
Everybody other than Melton, of course, and Tui, but yeah, everyone else was engaged in practice. Yeah.
Did that Portland game sort of give you any ideas of how to handle when Horford's not available? How to supplement the spacing that he brings when he is in the game?
Yeah, the spacing needs to happen no matter what, no matter who's out there. In fact, spacing is more important the fewer shooters you have out there, because a lot of guys who are traditionally not space players. Gary Payton's a great example, right? He's a great cutter, and he wants to get behind the defense. He wants to make cuts, which is great, but we have to start out with space. And we had a lot of possessions the other night where we didn't get to our space, and then you have no outlets against that kind of pressure. So the spacing was a big problem. It's something we worked on today.